Alright, hello everyone and welcome to episode 5 of Zero to Hero, and we quite literally kicked things off away from home in the J1 League against Sagan Tosu. 8 minutes in, a bit of a defensive muddle up really. Murillo in on goal and with a bit of help from the post made it 1-0. And as we know, our away form so far at the start of this kind of league season has been dreadful. So maybe, just maybe, we need an extra bit of luck on our side to, try and get us that first win away from home so that we can try and avoid relegation. 10 minutes later, once again, Sagan Tosu messing around too much with the ball in midfield. Our high press game allows us to win the ball back and pounce, and none other than Mr. Suzuki himself to make it 2-0. And so far, so good from our perspective. You know, watching on from the bench, Sagan Tosu finally had a chance. They did find the back of the net, but for some strange reason, the referee decided that there must have been a foul of some sort in the build-up to the goal. Personally, I don't think there was, but, you know, from my perspective, I'm not really going to complain when the opposition have a goal ruled out, and I'm not going to complain when we get a 3-goal lead. Thanks to that man again, Suzuki. Probably signs where the goalkeeper should be looking to come off his line, to be honest, but hey, let's try and focus on the positives, which is that we're actually winning. Well, not only winning a game away from home, but also positively winning a game away from home with a 3-goal lead. And the second I say that, of course, it was far too good for us to handle. A clean sheet away from home. We don't do clean sheets away from home, and we did end up conceding just before half-time. And it always is awkward, you know, when the opposition are back into it, especially in this kind of scenario. The last thing you need is for them to make it 3-2, and when they sub on Fernando Torres at half-time, you've always got to be prepared to concede goals. And at 3-2, suddenly, the comeback was potentially on. And we needed to try and regain that 2-goal lead that we once had. And Kono, who's someone who's come under a fair bit of stick in the past few episodes from me, managed to find the back of the net to put the score at 4-2. And then just 10 minutes later, they were defending really, really deep. I'm not really quite sure what they were trying to do. And once you give the ball to that fox in the box that is Suzuki, well, the ball's going to end up in one place, and that's the back of the net. And, yeah, that cemented a 5-2 lead. Corner then came in for Sagan Tosu. Not quite sure what we were doing defensively, but then again, we've been asking ourselves that all season. And we allowed Fukuta to make it 5-3. Really, really poor defending there. I mean, you know, it was one blue shirt surrounded by white shirts, and for some strange reason, none of the white shirts really jumped up and tried to header the ball away. Suzuki then got his 4th goal of the game. That man was on fire. He'd certainly had his MOT, I think, before coming into this match. And then we got subbed on as a defensive midfielder. We're quite a versatile player, so we can play in numerous positions. First time, I think, in the league so far, the manager decides to bring us on in defensive midfield. Probably because, obviously, we were 6-3 up. But as you can see, my introduction didn't really help defensively, as we went on to concede another. 6-4 the score. And then, believe it or not, you know what's coming. Damn right you do. Really poor defending from us. Fernando Torres with a nice dummy with 6 minutes to go. Once he's one-on-one with the goalkeeper, he ain't going to miss from there. Probably over-celebrated a little bit. Made it 6-5. But we had essentially 7 minutes plus extra time to still try and hold on. And with us, that's always a difficult thing to do. But Suzuki claimed the match ball in the end. We finally got 3 points away from home. Suzuki with the match rating of 10, and us coming off the bench, we got 5.5. Next up is a team you guys will be familiar with, Kashiwa Reysol. This time, though, it was in the Emperor's Cup. The first half was boring, 0-0 as you can see in the referee. The manager decided to sub me on at right mid, and it does seem like when we're losing, he likes to sub me on at right mid, try and create chances, and when we're kind of looking to hold on to a lead, he looks to freshen things up more in the central defensive midfielder position. But yeah, you know, 1-2's down the right-hand side. There was a lot of space down the right-hand side, mainly because the Kashiwa Reysol wingers don't really do much tracking back. So we were able to create kind of a 2 versus 1 situation up against their fullbacks. But it did take me 10 or so minutes to really warm up. I was getting a lot of balls into the box as well, but the strikers just, weren't getting on the receiving end of them. Tried to mix it up a bit with some through balls, but it just wasn't quite happening until the 78th minute. When we had a similar scenario to the last game, high press from the front, Delgado, almost a big number 9 as we like to call him, 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper, made it 1-0, and really it was quite cool for us because a cup run would be pretty decent for us as a team and decent for me as an individual as well, because it means I could potentially get more game time or potentially use the cup as an excuse to get my first start. But as we know, holding on to a lead is easier said than done. Tried to play through some of our players as well, try and beat the offside trap. It just wasn't really happening for me down the right hand side, putting a lot of balls into the box. It's not like I was playing poorly, but it just kind of seemed like within, the 45 minutes I was on the pitch, I just couldn't quite find that right ball. And talking about the right ball, Kashiwa Reysol, big hoof up from the goalkeeper. We don't win the second ball, as you can see from here. And, questions of offside maybe. I think it just about looks offside. The linesman doesn't think so. And, well, they made it 1-1. We went forward once more. Through ball from me out wide towards our right winger. Pick the ball up in the box. Shoot on goal. It's a bit of a wonder save there, really. Not really. I probably should have aimed more towards the far corner, to be honest, where I could have been the saviour for the game. And, yeah. Unfortunately, my miss and that miss meant that the game was heading into extra time. And for me, extra time wasn't necessarily a bad thing, because it kind of meant that I got a little bit more game time and more of an opportunity to try and make a difference. We had another shot there from the box, saved by the goalkeeper. And in the 97th minute, they played this through ball down the right-hand side. We've discussed kind of the issues with the right midfield position in our tactical approach being more of a wing-back key style role, suiting more of a defensive player, and unfortunately my positioning just about allowed them to transition, even though I don't think I can get the blame for it really, because they still did a lot more once they reached our final third, and they worked the ball nicely into the box to take a 2-1 lead. And it was really mental to think that, Kashiwa Reysol absolutely smashed us in the league. We came up into this game, we were a lot more resilient. We didn't necessarily play badly as a whole. We got the lead with 10 minutes to spare, and the fact that we still somehow managed to essentially throw away that 1-0 lead and end up in a 2-1 situation summed it all. Nice through ball from me there really towards Mr. Delgado, and I'm still to this very day wondering how on earth he didn't manage to bury this chance. I loved the little nosedive from the defender to his left hand side. Last chance of the game, header from us from a set piece, and it was really a wonderful save from the Kashiwa Reysol goalkeeper to deny us going forth in the Emperor Cup. But, positives and negatives, 6.5 rating for us. It meant we could focus a little bit more on the league. And one of our issues away from home is that we tend to concede really quickly, and we tend to concede a lot of goals, bar the Sagan Tosu match, where we still did concede a lot of goals. 3 minutes in, it looked like we were going to concede thanks to the crossbar, but then Sawada on the 20th minute mark with a lovely strike manages to break the deadlock. But again, scoring goals has never really been a problem for this V-Varen Nagasaki team. It's been defending goals. So even though we had a 2-0 lead, the slightly muted celebrations really almost summed up the fact that we knew there was still quite a hefty match on our hands. And the team we're playing is Sanfrecce Hiroshima, so, we are Nagasaki, so please no historical referencing in the comments. Behave. And then 2 minutes into the second half, Onaga decides to stick his foot out in the box. We give away a penalty, and this is exactly what I meant, where, we could have a 2-0 lead. We could have a 3-0 lead, as we saw in the first game of this episode. We're still going to find a way to concede. And to be fair to the referee, it certainly did look like a foul. Very good penalty, slap bang down the middle. And obviously at this point, we needed to make sure that we didn't concede again. to allow Hiroshima back into the game at 2-2. So, you know, with that being exactly what we did not need to do, it was exactly what we did do. Kudo made it 2-2, and it seemed like all the hard work that was done in the first half was essentially undone by 2 moments of you know, pure idiocy, where we'd come out of the dressing room a little bit complacent and just basically allowed the other team to get 2 goals and get back into it. Fortunately, though, we counter-attacked ourselves, and when you need a goal, who do you call? Suzuki. Suzuki. There we go. 3-2. And then, fortunately for us, I got subbed on, and as we know, I'm a bit of a magical talisman. So, yeah. No, I'm just kidding. So, tried to play one of our strikers in there with the ball down the channel. I thought we'd won a penalty ourselves, believe it or not. Didn't quite happen. But we won a corner from the chance, and from that corner, we managed to retain or regain rather, that 2-goal lead we once had, thanks to a bullet header from Marilla. Goalkeeper was never going to reach that corner. 4-2 the score. Yeah, and, you know, we just kept going. I was trying to make those runs, sometimes underlapping, sometimes overlapping, trying to cover defensively as well. In the 76th minute, I make a run. I beat the offside trap, and, you know, I also needed to beat the defenders, but unfortunately I failed at doing that. 82nd minute, there was a lot of space down this right-hand side for me, which was great coming fresh off the bench because of how offensive Hiroshima were. We unfortunately had a shot on goal. Defender did well to close the gap. And then 91st minute, as Hiroshima were throwing players forwards, that made plenty of room for me to try and beat the offside trap down the right-hand side. Then I rushed in on the goalkeeper, picked my spot, swung my leg, and got my first ever professional goal in my career, with a bit of Mo Salah inspired celebrations going on. And that obviously was the icing and cherry on top of the cake. 5-2. Really, really happy to be able to come off the bench and this time make an impact, not with an assist, but with finding the back of the net, and it was a good finish there in the end. Realistically, goalkeeper should have come off his line, but we'll not talk about the goalkeepers, shall we, Konami? But anyways, here we go. So we win 5-2. I get my first goal. Marilla gets man of the match with a rating of 9.0. I get a rating of 8.5, and there we go. 51 overall. We're slowly getting there.